Hi, this is John Hilbrantz. Today I'm going to discuss basically getting this Google TV installed, but also some of those comments that were up there about how they didn't like the way the inputs work, how they didn't like the way the app selection worked, and they couldn't find their particular apps that they wanted on their TV. So this particular TV is the TCL Google TV 6 Series R646. Beautiful picture. Everyone online will all say in the reviews how much they love the picture. It's about $250 less at Best Buy right now than the R655, which is the Roku version, and they're basically the same TVs. So great TV, cheaper than the Roku version, but should you choose it instead of the Roku? I also mentioned that I have a new Blu-ray player. My old Blu-ray player didn't play as nicely with this one, which might lead people to be unhappy. This one was $70 at Walmart. It was a BDP S3700, and it works beautifully in that when it goes to the TV then upscales it, so you don't need to get a fancy Blu-ray player, okay? So that gets us all into this basic place. And let's first discuss the inputs. I think I might also mention how I set up my receiver. So it'll give you a little extra at the end. All right, so the inputs are basically if you go into your TV in your app tray, that's this little row of your installed apps. When Google installs it, one of the apps they give you is this one that has a picture of a TV. It'll take you to the last used input, which happens to be my TiVo. All right, so it took me to HDMI 1, in other words. So that gets you one way. Now, once you click on something, right at the opening screen, it'll have like the most recently used thing, and that is my HDMI 1, which was the same thing. So we have two ways of getting inputs. This one isn't always there, but that'll take us to the last used. All right, so that's two ways. Now the third way is if you click on the settings button and you go down to, you'll get to the word inputs, and you can select HDMI 1 there as well. So once again, button down to select. So I guess like two buttons to get to the right place. Or let's try it again. Done, click down, done. Yeah, 2 clicks and you're there. So it really isn't the hardest thing in the world, even if you go the hardest way. But there is some other ways, and I'm going to call them magic or witchcraft. This is my TiVo, which you just saw, and this is what's called the TiVo button. It's basically just my remote, for the same as if you had cable TV. But if I click on my TiVo, it automatically went to my TiVo there. So I'm not using my Google remote at all, and it just went to it. Let's go back to Google TV again. And so that's really great for remotophobes, people that don't, I mean, the old story about the wife being told, do this, 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 you know, just pick it up and do it, and you're there. So no real issue. I also mentioned I have a Blu-ray player that's brand new. When I turn it on, it went to it as well. So again, it has that magic way of finding an input that has just powered on or refreshed. All right, so let's go back. That's my Blu-ray player again. So inputs work beautifully. You have the magic functions, you have the settings select, and then you have the scroll around and find your last used input. All right, so now let's talk about apps. Now I showed you this app tray already, and the very last one I have selected as TV. If you go to see all, you'll see that this top 12 are basically going to be on that app tray, and whatever else you have is below that line. You can actually move those around. So if you look on my button, and this is what some reviewers said you can't do, you can. Click that little settings button and you'll see the word move pop up. Now I can move this one down, move it over, do whatever I want with it, and then, you know, when you're happy, drop it. So I can do that. Once you're in the move settings, you can just keep moving them around until you like what the screen is. If you want this one at the very beginning, you can move that at the very beginning and get to your inputs even faster. All right, let's go back to home. All right, so the next, oh, that's not home, that's home. So the next thing that people mentioned is finding apps. So that's not very hard either. And the top thing, which I never use, by the way, it's kind of a weird place because usually you're down in this section. But if you click on your apps, you'll see this search. So that's where you search for new things. And you can use the speaker if you want, press the speaker, but you can just type in, or you can look through the categories of the particular one that you want, like BritBox or the other ones that you don't instantly see on there. And let me go back to my apps to show you what all I have, just in case you were worried about your particular one. You can see that I have pretty much what most people choose, but there are obviously more, and you'll find more. Now, the reason why people are really liking the UI here of the fact that we get this continue watching, which is cross-platform. You'll see I have something from HBO and something from Disney Plus, and looks like it's all Disney Plus and YouTube's. But that was the stuff that were just recently watched. And then we have things that we might like that are on our particular apps. So these are people's favorites and even what's trending. So we've seen that in our Netflix menus and things like that, but it's nice to have it on the screen that's cross-platform. So I think that gets us through all of those things that people were having a problem with. Now let's go into setting this TV up. So for me, my biggest concern was, how am I going to set this up? Now, because I'm using the smart functions of these, both the TiVo and the DVD player, I want the HDMIs to go into the TV. And then, so I'm not going to use the receiver auto switching. I just skipped that. So instead, I have a optical wire coming down from the TV into the receiver. So let's discuss that optical wire and how that works. So let's go into our settings and go into our display and sound and audio, and we'll do audio outputs. So these are our audio output selections. Now, this is a radio button, so once you select one, it's going to deselect the other. So you can only choose one of these 6 ways. Internal speaker, wired headphones, ARC. ARC is basically an arc return of an HDMI. So the HDMI would go into your sound bar, and now your volume would only control your sound bar. So that's why the internal speakers, I think it just timed out there. So the ARC would only control your speakers. Bluetooth would be something like an external sound that's through Bluetooth, but you can have Bluetooth plus internal speakers. So that's kind of nice, because usually the Bluetooth devices might be overwhelming and you would want to have your internal speakers work as well. So you just turn the volume down on the one you don't want to hear from. All right, but you notice that it doesn't have the optical as a choice, and that's because it's always on. So basically, to do optical, you just plug your optical wire in, plug it into your receiver, and it's working. They do have delay settings, but I didn't have to use it. So the advantage of here is, again, for those people that are remotophobes. So if I turn on my surround sound system, I power it on, it's going to just start working. I don't have to do anything other than turn it on. In fact, I can walk up to the device and turn it on. Once it's on, I would lower the volume of my internal speakers, and it'll be powered on. So I think having it come back in the optical is really the ideal way. Obviously, I think the better your system, maybe the more likely that you'd want to get better, a different type of sound profile that might be only available through HDMI 2.1. But for me, this will certainly give me my 5.1 that I need in Dolby. So I'm good with that. Let's turn that off again. All right. So I think that gets us through all of those questions that we have. Now let me talk a little bit about the wiring itself. So I mentioned I have two HDMIs coming up to the TV to give us that quick acting that I want. The HDMIs are right here on the side. And then we have a power cord that comes off of that. So that makes it a little awkward because we have to route everything to one side. The power cord is only long enough to get to about here. You can buy online, you can find that type of plug and make it longer, but because I have a hollow space in this cap area, I actually can put an extension cord in there and plug it in. There's just two screws to remove my cap, and I can put my cord cover to hide the wires, and then I can just bring them out here, and you can see the wires coming into the cord cover there. And I'll give you a link to that cord cover, but basically it's something that just has two-sided tape on the inside part. You put your wires in it and then pop the cap on it. Mine, I had to move it over a little bit. And once I moved it over, it lost some of its adhesive. And I have a glue gun, so I restuck that back part down to have it stick. Also notice that it's doesn't quite snap perfectly because it's overfilled. I have too many cords in that small of a connector. So if you copy me and you get slightly bigger cords, you may not get that top part in. Let me show you the HDMI wires that I have because I'm going to link to them. A lot of people want the 2.1s because they might want the big game box here. Those are the first two HDMIs are 2.1s, which give you 120 hertz. So they're going to have a lot better quality sending of sound and video. And so you'll want the better quality plugs so you're backwards compatible, or not backwards, but forwards compatible. So these particular ones, they're not as thick as I've had in the past, but they're really nice. I think they work perfectly. And I think that's a good way of doing it. You notice I have this little box here, and I think I might profile it a little bit because I built it. And every time people say, where did you ever find a lamp stand that's for your receivers? Well, I built it. And I think that's one of the things that woodworkers do. They go, oh God, I need something that has 3 shelves and it'll still be a lamp stand. Okay, pretty simple though. It's just basically a shell with a oak front, okay, with 2 shelves in it. I could say how to build this, but seriously, you just build it. Nails with your pneumatic and stained, and you're good to go. Let's see, I think I've covered everything, but I do want to say that when my old Blu-ray player was acting weird, I switched the HDMIs. They didn't fix it. I was very hesitant to buy a new Blu-ray player because it was popping out another 70 bucks. But, you know, it's so much better to have something that has the fast acting functions. It doesn't lose its connectivity. And I think, you know, if you have that same situation, it'd be worth it to get that as well. All right. I think I covered everything, but overall, I want to say that the Google TV is definitely a winner. There's no disadvantage that I can find over Roku. And I even turned the OK Google function on, and look, it popped up because I said that word. It's waiting for me to say something. But I can say, you know, OK Google, let's watch Netflix.
Opening Netflix.
And it did it. So I mean, you can even have that if you want to just talk to your TV. Let me try HDMI 1. OK Google, go to HDMI 1. Yeah, it did that too. So I mean, another way of getting to wow, you just find more and more functions as you go. I think that might be why the people are perplexed because things are just upgrading and getting there so fast. So you know, if you're worried about your inputs, you got a million ways to get to them, and all of them are fast. Not only the magic, but you can just use the scrolling on the screen. If you're worried about the apps, they're fully movable. You can find more on the store. And if you're thinking about this TV, I can't say enough good things about it. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Trying to get to that 1,000. This has been John Hillbrands. Have a good day. Thank you.